Good afternoon, everybody. Today we're going to keep going with our organic chem unit. We're going to look a little bit at polarity because it's going to play a little bit of a role here when we're talking about some of the things later in the unit. And for polarity, something we need to keep in mind is there's two types of polarity, right? There's bond polarity and then there's molecule polarity. We're going to start by looking at bonds first and then molecules second. Bond polarity is all based on what two things are connected, because polarity is about the sharing of electrons. Are the electrons shared evenly, or are the electrons shared unevenly? Hey Kiara. Hi Liz. How we doing? When we're talking about shared evenly and unevenly, we're really going to look at, are the two elements that are bonded the same, or are the two elements that are bonded different? Right? If the two elements are the same, those electrons are shared evenly, making it a non-polar bond. Right? Because the pull of this X is just as strong as the pull of this X, because they're the same, the electrons here are shared perfectly evenly between the two things. Which means that there's no one side that is stronger than the other. There's no one side that has more of the electrons, which means there are no poles to this molecule, right? There's no North Pole, South Pole, East Pole, West Pole, right? It's just non-polar. There are no uneven spreads of this material. For X bonded to Y, the electrons are shared unevenly. Because one of these two things is stronger than the other. It doesn't have to be much stronger, right? It could be that X is 10 times stronger than Y. It could be that Y is just a little bit stronger than X. But the thing that matters is that they're not the same. One of these is stronger than the other, which means that this is a polar bond because the electrons are going to bunch up. They're either going to be closer to the Y or closer to the X, but they definitely won't be right in the middle. When we talk about molecule polarity, we are not just looking at one individual bond, we're looking at an entire molecule and how that shares and distributes its electrons. And we're asking the same questions here. Are the electrons shared evenly or are they uneven? Right? And that's going to give us nonpolar and polar. Right? When we talk about molecule polarity, we need to draw some molecules. Let's say I draw an organic molecule, C2H6. The way we check molecules for even or uneven electron sharing is by looking for lines of symmetry. This molecule has 1, 2 lines of symmetry. Right? If a molecule has multiple lines of symmetry. Right, so 2, 3, 4, etc. That makes it a nonpolar molecule. If there is a substance that does not have two or multiple lines of symmetry, right? Let's say we had C2H5 H6. Oh, we do this. All right, we make ethanol. There are no lines of symmetry in this molecule. Right, no matter if I try to go horizontal, I can't make a line of symmetry here. If I try to go vertical, I can't make a line of symmetry here. All right, so something with a 0 or 1 line of symmetry is going to be a polar molecule. I know how to write, I swear. I haven't forgotten. Notice, and I just want to remind you guys that this polar molecule has some polar bonds in it and some non-polar bonds in it. This non-polar molecule has some polar bonds in it and some non-polar bonds in it. And that's fine. There's no problem with having a non-polar molecule with polar bonds or a polar molecule with non-polar bonds. They're independent of each other. Right? When we're focusing on a bond, we're looking at just this interaction. Or just this interaction. And we're not looking at the whole picture, but when we're looking at the molecule, we're looking at the whole picture. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? Fantastic. All right, this is all review and some refresher stuff. When we talk about organic, I don't want to get into organic naming today. I would rather do something else, but there's nothing else to do. I was expecting to have to refresh bonding with you a little more. Well, all right. So I'm actually gonna stop us here. We're gonna have just a short lesson today. Tomorrow, when we come in, we'll spend the whole time, the full half hour and 45 minutes or whatever, looking at tables P and Q, looking at some of these prefixes and some of these suffixes that we got a sneak peek of the other day when we talked about 2-pentene or 3-pentene. And that'll be that. I'm going to transition us into office hours, which... Remember that now office hours will be on Google Meet. Please check the Google Classroom for the Google Meet code for our Google Teaching, because everything is Google now. But it's okay. We're just going to jump into a new topic tomorrow so that we don't have a weird video that breaks halfway through. All right, everybody, I will see you there. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please come and stop by.